how do you know if you're being yourself? Is that an energetic sense? And how can you practice reinforcing the authenticity?
So again, are you afraid of being found out? If you're being yourself authentically, you almost never have to think twice about what you're doing. And by that, I don't mean that you're being rude to people and you're not observing social conventions. I just mean, what are people going to think is a nagging question that keeps you at least one thought away from who in fact you are. You're always in the attic above a party when you're thinking, how should I behave? Because behavior is operating at an enormously faster rate than your conscious mind can keep up. So you'll notice that there are people who seem very distracted and very inauthentic because they're in their heads trying to be someone different. How would Kevin do this? How would Suzette do this? You're lost to begin with. What takes real courage is to recognize this unique gift. You and everyone on this planet are unique. That means at some level you have to pull on your big boy pants and be who you are. And it's very scary because there's tremendous pressure on us to be like everybody else in an absolutely just do it, kind of be your own person way. Well, those two don't go together. Trying to be like everybody else means you're not yourself. There's something powerful in the owning of who you truly are. Now, I'm not saying that comes to you on your 12th birthday in a box. I'm saying you're developing this constantly.
What I've pulled from that, there's two sort of tactical questions that if you catch yourself asking could be yellow to red flags that you aren't necessarily being yourself.
Yeah.
Which is, how should I be behaving here?
Yeah.
And what are they going to think?
Yeah.
Because that tends to be a step away from what it is that's actually going on within you. You're sort of it's a second degree type of behavior rather than just primarily acting from that space within yourself that is authentic to a degree. And you mentioned that taking ownership in yourself is an ongoing process because your core, in your case, open, pure, loving awareness, it's a dynamic thing. It isn't a finite aspect that you can sort of draw a box around.
Exactly right.
And so if that's continuously developing and continuously moving, it's an ongoing process to get to know that, and identity isn't necessarily static. And so if you're training yourself to be more authentic to who it is that you really are, why might that be scary? You mentioned that it might be scary at first to do that.
Sure.
What's going on from a sort of evolutionary perspective that might spark fear within ourselves?
Remember our evolutionary roots in status. We drop out of the trees. We're not evolved to be on the ground. We're kind of clumsy. We're small. We're not very big. We're not very fast. We're not very powerful. We're mostly snacks for larger, faster, more powerful predators. And if we don't do something about that, we're going to be extinct as a species. And Homo sapiens did something about that, something remarkable. They started working together. We've talked about this. An adult male lion can take an adult male Homo sapiens like that, be home for lunch. An adult male lion can take 2 or 3 adult male Homo sapiens, take a little bit more strategy, a little more work, but they'll be home by dinner. An adult male lion cannot take 150 adult Homo sapiens with the single focused, coherent intention to kill it. And that takes Homo sapiens from somewhere in the lower third of the food chain to the apex of that food chain, evolutionarily speaking. But that consigns those same Homo sapiens to a life of needing to pay attention to their status in that group. Because if they are ever thrown out of that group, if the group doesn't like them enough to throw them out, that's a death sentence. That's deeply embedded in our limbic system. So these societal pressures are very real. They're very powerful. But it's important to understand when they get out of balance and out of whack. The fact that I don't have the right shoes does not mean I'm going to die. But that's what my limbic system feels, because it takes a lot longer to evolve physiologically than our environment takes to change. So these pressures come down to one single question. What if nobody likes me? And the feeling state is, I'm going to die. Good. Take a breath. Hold it. Let that breath go. Am I in fact going to die? Wow. I seem to be still here. The world seems to be going in its orbit. Okay. But I've gone from being terrified to now being mildly concerned. I'm still concerned because there's a very real possibility. If I continue to be who I really am, nobody's going to like me. But if you get quiet enough, you're going to understand that who you really are underneath all this emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual noise and distraction isn't these weak behaviors that you've developed as a compensatory strategy against fear of not being enough. You're not trying to fill up an empty bucket that has holes in it. You're back to realizing who you really are, and who you really are is crucial.
If we look from an evolutionary perspective, status and group acceptance is tied to survival.
Yep.
Because if we don't have acceptance from the tribe, we're out of the tribe, and the one adult Homo sapien versus one adult lion.
Yes. Hand the lion a toothpick because it's over. Yeah.
The ability to be accepted by the group is very deeply wired within us.
Yes. And the question often, I don't mean to cut you off, what group? We hardly ever think about that. There isn't one group.
Well, I guess it depends which group you want to most closely identify with.
Right now, based on Bobo the Dancing Bear telling you better do this, you may be in the wrong group.
So this ability to identify with groups and identify with different sort of traits, largely in an abstract way, has an incredible benefit to being able to get along with that group.
Yes.
But in today's day and age, with this mismatch between our real primal neurology and the society around us, if we identify with something that might be rejected by a certain group, we have this internal feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Yes.
When in reality, that's not the case. Just because you're wearing a different color pair of shoes than the group is, and they say, okay, yeah, we're not having this, doesn't mean that you're going to die. And it might actually mean if you don't like those shoes, it would be better wearing a different pair of shoes anyway, if it's more aligned with who and what you truly are at the core of it.
Or if your group values the fact that you wear one pair of shoes over another you may want to consider the validity of that group in your life. I'm not kidding.
I know you're not. It's just funny.
But you have to get past that limbic fear to realize that group might be doing you a favor. I don't want to be a part of a group that's going to throw me to the curb because I don't have the right shoes on.